Well, that sucked. Offense sucks. A lot of things suck. It's very depressing around here right now. Welcome in to the PHNX D-Back Show. Hopefully, we can make your evening better. My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as the mayor of PHNX. This man next to me, your vice mayor, my thunderstick, the one and only Jesse Friedman. Jesse, we already heard from Torey Lovullo sounding very frustrated with this offense after their series against the Miami Marlins. But holy cow. I can only imagine how frustrating things are after tonight's game.
It's not great, Derek.
No,
they don't hit much.
No,
there's not
a
lot of offense to speak of yet again. The Diamondbacks had 2 extra base hits in this game, back-to-back extra base hits. This started a nice little run in the second inning, and then they did not have an extra base hit the rest of the game.
Neat.
Yeah, not fantastic.
No.
They scored just the 2 runs, which of course also both happened in that second inning. It's rough, Derek. This is a rough time. I thought Brandon Pfaadt pitched pretty well in this game. We'll get into him a little bit later, but the story once again is that the offense just didn't really show up, and they've now scored 6 runs in their past 4 games combined.
D-backs lose this one 4-2. They are now 1-25 when they are trailing by 2 runs or more at any point during the game.
That doesn't exactly scream answer backs. I know
that we're pulling the shirt off the store. The answer back shirt, it's fucking gone. Okay. And I mean, honestly, if you keep performing like this, we'll take away the fucking connected and dangerous shirt too, because this is not a very dangerous team, not offensively right now. A lot of pieces aren't working. Christian Walker, he did some good work tonight at the plate. Pavin Smith continues to be better than everybody continues to give him credit for. But outside of that, the Diamondbacks just really didn't have a lot going on, Jesse. And I think that this is starting to get very frustrating. When I said Torey Lovullo sounded frustrated the other day, it's not just Torey. You know who else sounded frustrated? Steve Berthiaume during this game a couple of times sounded like he's finally at his wit's end with this team. And honestly, I'm not surprised by it because he has to watch every single game, as do we. And you know how frustrated I am. Damon has just abandoned this team altogether. You know all those beautiful vintage shirts? He's just selling them all on eBay at this point because this man has had it with the offense. And so have we all. This offense just lost its momentum today after an amazing play at the plate by Adolis Garcia to cut down Jock Peterson at home. And it felt like from that point on, things just went flat.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's run through sort of what happened.
I don't want to recap it. No one wants to recap it. I
just say that
I don't want to hear it.
Damon is so mad at this team that he's no longer producing the show.
Yeah, that's Shane, by the way, behind but on the 1s and 2s because Damon has abandoned our show, us completely. Yep. I don't think he's coming back from Las Vegas, to be honest. I think he's gonna maybe just wait around for the baseball team to get there. Good luck with that one. But this was definitely a frustrating game because it did feel early on like the Diamondbacks were producing there. It did feel like they had a couple of opportunities early on, and I mean, again, especially once we saw Nathan Eovaldi removed from the game, it's like nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean, D-backs, they put up 2 runs in the second inning, as we said before. Christian Walker double, Pavin Smith double, Jake McCarthy single, and then Eugenio Suarez brings in a second run on a sac fly. They get out in front 2-0. And then in the bottom half of the third, Derek, you've got Travis Jankowski at second base with 2 outs. Corey Seager has been absolutely demolishing the baseball lately. I believe he had 5 homers in his last 6 games entering today, or at least had homered in 5 of his last 6 games. And Torey decided he wasn't going to let Corey Seager beat him, at least in that inning. He intentionally walks Corey Seager, makes it 2 on, 2 out. And the next hitter, Josh Smith, comes through with a 2-out RBI single, gets the Rangers on the board, makes it a 2-1 game at that point. And then in the bottom half of the 5th inning, you've got back-to-back singles to start by Jonah Heim and Travis Jankowski. Then Marcus Semien hits into a force-out, first and third, 1 out. Corey Seager comes up again. And at that point, it's like, all right, do you want to walk Corey Seager to load the bases? Or are you just going to pitch to him? And that time, Torey Lovullo decided to pitch to Corey Seager. And he gave up Brandon Pfaadt gave up a 3-run home run on the very first pitch. So it did not. It seemed, I mean, in both of those situations, I guess in hindsight, Torey sort of seemed to make the wrong choice. Although who knows what happens in the second inning if he pitches to him. Maybe that's a 2-run homer.
You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't when it comes to Corey Seager, right? I mean, you can do what you want. You can try to pitch around him, and it's still going to bite you. And honestly, I don't know really, because 4 runs doesn't seem like an insurmountable lead. It doesn't feel like the Diamondbacks can't come back from that. But like we said earlier, they are 1-in-25 when trailing by 2+ runs at any point in the game. That tells me that this team gives up. I mean, you can say that they fight back. You can say that they give an effort. You can say that they tried hard, but you can't convince me that they are not giving up once they go down by 2+ runs. It almost feels like we as fans feel that way. That's typically fairly, reactionary, right? But it's starting to feel like the team feels that way too. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's the fact that we do see them struggle so much late in the game, especially after they've lost the lead or they're down. Yeah. And I mean, it just feels like their heart isn't in it anymore just because they're down by a couple of runs, right?
So it's 4-2 Rangers at that point after the 3-run bomb by Seager. But the D-backs, they did, Derek, at least appear to still be engaged and trying to fight their way back, because in the 6th inning, you've got a Jock Peterson walk. I believe Christian Walker was retired, but then Lourdes Gurriel singled, Jake McCarthy singled. You find yourself in a bases loaded 1-out situation for one Gino Suarez, and Gino Suarez flies out to right field, and Adolis Garcia, who has an absolute cannon of an arm, makes a basically perfect throw to home. Jock Peterson is initially called safe, but upon review, it was pretty clear that he was out. Not the best slide that I've ever seen. I think if Jock, I think there's a world in which Jock is safe with a better slide, but he was very clearly out upon replay. And the Diamondbacks, that ending ended on a double play, which is not exactly ideal when you have the bases loaded in 1 out.
Meanwhile, Brandon Pfaadt, even though the line doesn't really suggest it, was very good for this team tonight. Not only did he give them 7 innings, but again, loser talk here. If you take out basically Corey Seager's 2 at-bats and the results of those, he was damn good, right? So it's like, outside of not being able to do anything against Corey Seager, Brandon Pfaadt was he was getting a lot of swings and misses tonight. He was doing the thing.
He was good. Yeah, Brandon Pfaadt was good in this game. He had 15 whiffs, which is a pretty darn good number. He was all over the strike zone with his 4-seamer and his sinker. Seemed like he was having a little trouble spotting the sweeper for strikes early in the game, but that wound up. He was able to get in the zone more later in the game. He got 6 whiffs on that pitch, which is we're kind of used to seeing that at this point, where Pfaadt's sweeper is just one of the better out pitches in all of baseball. I thought he pitched pretty dang well. But if you don't come through and make good pitches in the biggest moments, especially against a guy like Corey Seager, that the sweeper location, the pitch that Corey Seager hit for a 3-run home run, a down and in sweeper that's like in the zone is just not something that you want to throw Corey Seager, especially on the first pitch. The Diamondbacks have some experience going back to the World Series of what Corey Seager can do on the first pitch if he has an idea of what's coming. We saw it with Paul Sewald. He did what Corey Seager often does in those situations, which is, sort of put, I guess he didn't really put the game out of reach at that point, but as you said earlier, with how much the Diamondbacks have struggled to come back in games, it sort of felt like the game was out of reach at that point.
Well, we didn't have many options, and I know this is going to piss off a lot of people in Discord that we didn't give it to Pavin Smith, but we are going to give tonight's King Snake to Brandon Pfaadt because, again, he was much better tonight. Those 15 whiffs were incredible, and I mean, this does feel like deja vu at times when they play this Rangers team. Brandon Pfaadt does tend to give up a lot of runs against the Rangers. But I mean, he continues to be a very solid piece of the starting rotation, if not the most consistent. Tonight was just a bit of an outlier because of how good Corey Seager has been. And I mean, again, this is more of tipping the cap to Corey Seager, I think, than admitting that Brandon Pfaadt was bad tonight, because that home run, go back and watch it. The man was like almost down to one knee while he hit it. Like it was an incredible swing, and Corey Seager has just been absolutely on fire lately. So
Yeah,
it's hard to completely blame Brandon Pfaadt for that, considering how good Seager's been.
Yeah, what I will say about Pfaadt's outing, although he did give up the 4 runs, and that was definitely a mistake pitch to Seager, the 2 singles that set Seager up for that moment, Jonah Heim's was 70.8 miles an hour off the bat, and Travis Jankowski's was 60 miles an hour off the bat. Both of those were pretty cheap hits. I mean, they had expected batting averages of 140 and 360. I think Heim's was kind of like a half swing in the shift, which I guess you could give him some credit for. But yeah, I mean, those are two kind of fluky hits, right? And if those don't happen, then you're talking about a solo home run, which is still not great. Would have tied the game. Who knows what happens at that point? But maybe this game is still going. Maybe the Diamondbacks are able to find a way to come back.
When I say Corey Seager is on fire right now, the man has 7 home runs in his last 7 games.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I looked at his Savant page too before the series started, and I just was not really at all fooled by the 796 OPS that Seager had coming into the series, because his Savant page is basically as bright red as ever. I think his expected weighted on base average is coming in today about 60 points higher than his actual. So I think he's dealt with some bad luck. He also was injured for a good portion of spring training. And so I think he kind of got off to a slower start for that reason as well. But Corey Seager's really, really good, and the Diamondbacks know that about as well as any franchise in the game at this point.
Going back there, Elise, known baseball GM, who the verdict's still out on whether she's a baseball GM or not. She says, "Why do we suck after off days? It's unbelievable how flat we come out. I'm so confused." It's not just off days, Jesse. You can literally count on one hand how many game ones they've won with fingers to spare, right? Like,
yeah, they're 3-15 in season
3-15 in season openers.
In series openers.
In season openers, they are 1-0.
Yeah, they are 1-0 in season openers, at least this year.
Oh my God, they've been so bad, and there's no. I don't know. That's as confusing to me as the conversation about what is going on with their hitters, right? And their hitters right now are just really bad. But we've lost Ketel. Ketel has gone offline. He's gone off the grid. Ketel Marte is now 0 for 16. Jesse, 0 for 16 since his hit streak ended.
Yeah, he's just gone 0 for 4 consecutive times since the Dodgers series.
Jesse said, quote, "He's dead to me" today while we were watching the game.
I did not say that. But yeah, Ketel's OPS is down to 800, which is still good, but it's not. I mean, it's lower than last year, right? Ketel, as of a week or so ago, it felt like he was having just this unbelievable season and was one of the few guys in this lineup that was really doing everything you wanted and more. But at this point, it kind of just feels like Ketel on the whole has had about the season you'd expect to have. Maybe even you'd expect him to have maybe even a tick less than that with the OPS down at 800 at this point. So, yeah, I mean, the reality for this offense, Derek, is Jock Peterson has had a great season. Ketel Marte has had a solid season. Christian Walker's had a solid season. Basically, everyone else has fallen well below expectations. I guess Jake McCarthy, give a shout out there. He's certainly been pretty good this year, bounced back nicely.
Absolutely.
But Eugenio Suarez hasn't really hit. Gabriel Moreno hasn't really hit. Lourdes Gurriel hasn't really hit. Corbin Carroll hasn't really hit. I mean, that's 4 everyday position players in this lineup that you're getting next to nothing from. Not just over, these last 4 games, but really at the season as a whole at this point. And it's really hard to score runs when you've got half your lineup just day in, day out, not giving you much of anything.
Corbin Carroll has been tragically bad at the plate, and it's unfortunate in ways I can't even get into. But
yeah,
man, I think that there was a time where we brought this topic up, and it seemed early. It seemed maybe reactionary. it also seemed like it was crazy to even be discussing. Now there might be a little bit more merit behind the idea if Corbin Carroll should be sent down to AAA Reno. I saw some people out there floating the idea of a mystery IL stint just to give him some time off or whatever.
Right.
I really don't know how to reset him. I really don't know what the answer is. I do know that guys seem to go down to AAA, especially Reno, and become gods, literal gods, like at hitting the ball. Like go down there, they hit 417 with a 1.203 OPS and shit. But I mean, I think that at this point, it's a really hard decision. It's a really hard decision to send down the rookie of the year. It's a really hard decision to send down a guy that means as much as Corbin Carroll means to this franchise. I think we finally reached a point though where fans would be accepting of it and okay with it, not like riot about it.
Yeah, all I will say about the idea of sending Corbin down is it's no longer an outrageous concept. I'm not saying that the Diamondbacks should definitely do that, but it's not a completely out of left field, like, oh, you're just being crazy overreactionary. It's not that. I mean, we're talking about a third of a season at this point. Corbin Carroll has played 52 games. I mean, that is a third of a full Major League Baseball season.
Is he hitting leadoff just to try to give him confidence once again? Like, is that a Torey Lovullo mistake? Because it does feel like he's just trying to set his lineup as he would regardless of current results and kind of give these guys back that belief in them, that faith in them, that he can put them back at the top of the lineup. But it's not working.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all can acknowledge that certainly looks like a mistake by Torey Lovullo. He did move Corbin Carroll down in the lineup. We saw Corbin hit 7th. We saw him hit 8th for a while. But, a couple of good games, I think it was in Cincinnati, and Torey was like, all right, that's the Corbin that we're used to seeing. Let's move him back to the top. He's good now. And in retrospect, granted, hindsight is 20/20 with these kind of situations, but it's pretty obvious that wasn't Corbin Carroll getting back to himself. That was just Corbin Carroll doing a couple good things, a few good swings,
having a good week,
I mean, I don't even know if it was a good week,
having a good 3 or 4 days,
few days, and then suddenly Corbin's hitting first, Corbin's hitting second, as he did throughout last season. And I don't think, I'm not sure that I am ready to say the Diamondbacks should send Corbin Carroll down. As I said earlier, I think that's reasonable. I'm not sure where I stand on that. But I do think that you probably have to, if you're Torey Lovullo, you probably have to move him back down in the lineup. You can't have a guy who has a mid 500s OPS hitting first or second every single day, right? It just doesn't seem like it's in the best interest of this offense right now. It's a tough situation. I mean, again, it just goes to show how hard baseball is, how quickly you can go from being one of the best to one of the 5 or 10 worst qualified hitters in the game. Corbin's going to figure it out. I still feel very confident saying that in a macro sense, but is he going to figure it out tomorrow? Is he going to figure it out next week? Harder to say at this point.
Well, I will say this is that I'm not reading any more Dr. Seuss quotes about slumps. That's for sure, because we have gone way outside of that being anything that can fix anything. Of course, we do appreciate all of you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel right now and watching us live on Twitter. Once again, welcome back, Twitter. I'm never calling it X. I will never call it X. Of course, we thank you guys for being here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, come on over, do so now. Of course, make sure you sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our wonderful shows go live. Also, make sure if you're listening on the audio podcasting side, you sign up over there on whatever your favorite app is. Subscribe there. Leave us a review. We appreciate those reviews. Those 5-star reviews help us out a ton. Of course, if you're here in the YouTube channel, drop a like. Gabby loves it when you drop a like. Corbin loves it when maybe dropping a like will help Corbin raise his batting average and his on-base percentage. I have no idea. But of course, we do also wish for you to check out the BetMGM Sportsbook app. It makes nights like tonight more fun because guess what? You can bet against the Arizona Diamondbacks and you can still win even if they don't. So if you haven't signed up yet, make sure to do so now using our bonus code of PHNX. Sign up on iOS, Android, or by visiting betmgm.com. Place your first wager of $10 or more after you deposit that amount into your account. When you do place that wager, you will receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Of course, right now is a great time to check out the BetMGM Sportsbook app. If you're a baseball fan, they have their Grand Slam promotion all year long. Right now, you can get down on the weekly bet. You can place a $10 or more wager on any player to hit a home run every weekend. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If the player hits a grand slam on that day, you can win up to $50,000 or your share of that prize with every other winning bettor. So make sure to sign up for BetMGM now and use our bonus code of PHNX. Place your first sportsbook wager through the Sportsbook mobile app for at least $10. You will receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY, 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. We need a 2-shot on that, Shane. We do the whole harmonizing thing.
Sorry, I need to lock
No,
in.
it's
That's
fine.
on me. I need to
No,
lock
it's fine.
in.
We'll,
Do you want to go ahead and run that disclaimer back? I can do it live.
We're good. But I'll tell you, you could be better if you sign up over at Desert Financial Credit Union for an account. Let them help you in your financial investment goals and your financial whatever you're trying to reach with your finances. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. They are dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and by providing financial solutions that make your life better. And they have your best interest in mind, not the bank. So make sure you can look to Desert Financial for financial guidance for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. When you open a free checking account online right now, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 right now. Well, let's take a look at the count presented by Desert Financial Credit Union because, again, this is another one of those numbers, set of numbers that will make you sick as a Diamondbacks fan. Diamondbacks lose this one 4-2. They out-hit the Texas Rangers 8-6. They were actually good with runners in scoring position, 3 for 7, though they didn't get those runs in. Neither did the Texas Rangers. They were 2 for 7. They have that one home run, big deal there. 29.2% hard hit percentage for the Rangers and 36% for the Diamondbacks. Of course, no home runs there for the Diamondbacks. But yeah, this one, not great. Neither team was very good offensively. It doesn't feel great. I think like this is one of those weird scores when it's 4-2 where you feel like the team should muster up more, than 2 runs, right? I mean, at least put forth a better effort, right? They had their biggest scoring opportunity absolutely squashed there by a double play by Adolis Garcia throwing, Jock Peterson out at home plate. And I mean, it really did feel like that was the point where it just, the air was let out of their balloon for tonight.
Yeah, this game kind of reminded me of Game 3 of the World Series. Not that people really feel like going back and reliving that necessarily, this
is bad deja vu.
It is an interesting parallel. Brandon Pfaadt started that game for the D-backs. Corey Seager hit a home run against Brandon Pfaadt in that game. I think it was a 2-run shot, not a 3-run shot. Adolis Garcia gunned down Christian Walker at home in that game. Similar to what happened with Jock Peterson today, although that was the play where Walker and Tony Perez-Chica had a bit of a misunderstanding situation at third base. So there were some other factors at play there. I also believe that the Rangers, that was the game where Max Scherzer started, and then they brought in Jonathan Gray, if I'm not mistaken, as sort of like a long reliever situation.
So we had that again today.
Which is also similar to what happened today with Nathan Eovaldi starting. Bizarrely, at the last minute, the Rangers didn't announce their lineup or their starting pitcher or anything until what felt like 7 minutes before the game started. Shout out Bruce Bochy. But a lot of kind of bizarre parallels between tonight and Game 3. And Game 3 was very much when the World Series seemed to, obviously a Game 3 in an even series is really important, right? That's going to give the winning team a whole lot of momentum. And it sure did. It sure did in the World Series. The Diamondbacks, of course, did not find a way to win a game after that point.
People hate what you're doing right now. They really do.
It's just, there's too many parallels, Derek.
You could also say they had this happen to them after they won a series against the Dodgers, which is also what just happened, but that kind of also had another series in between. But yeah, no, this has not been great, Jesse. This has been hard to watch, mostly because last season when the Diamondbacks had their struggles, when they lost games, not only was it not this frequently early on, so you had a chance to build up a more belief in this team, but a lot of it you could pinpoint on the bullpen. And sometimes in life, it's great to have a scapegoat, isn't it? Because it's so much better than saying the entire team's bad. And like, that's what it feels like right now, right? Like I would take Jock Peterson out of that. I would take Jake McCarthy with the way he's playing lately out of that, right? Like Jake McCarthy feels like he is the Jake McCarthy that was a big part of the chaos being created by this team. But right now, it doesn't feel like any of the pieces that make this team successful are, able to produce on a consistent basis. We have those games we get excited. We have those moments where, Lourdes Gurriel goes 2 for 4 in a night, and we start asking, is he back? Corbin, is he back? All these guys, when are they back? When will they come back? I need the guys back. This fucking offense has been so goddamn frustrating to watch. I hate it so much because I lose belief. And I don't want to lose belief because it feels crazy to be like, oh, they're down 4-2. They're going to fucking lose this game. That sucks. But then they back it up constantly. 1 for 25 when they're down by 2 runs or more. Like, that is not the team that excited us. That is not the team that lit Arizona on fire last year. Forget the World Series. I'm just talking about the period of time where we started calling them the answer backs. And we had all of these comeback victories where you could believe that they were going to, even when they went through a stretch where they couldn't, or even when they went through a stretch where the bullpen was really giving up a lot of games, you still had that belief that this team was able to produce runs at any point. And it still feels like that this season, based on the fact that we always see these huge innings from them in some of their big wins. 6 runs here, 7 runs in this inning, right? Like, so it's not like they're not capable of all of a sudden having an incredible inning where they just, they all go crazy. It's just been so far between those performances. Like they can rarely put multiple nights like that together, let alone can they do it in any kind of consistent way that makes me believe that this team can contend, can be above 500, can make the playoffs. Like I'm starting to lose that belief in this team.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think that's fair. There are certain guys in the lineup that you still have to feel somewhat good about turning it around. Like Lourdes Gurriel Jr. throughout his whole career has been such a streaky hitter. We saw it the first couple weeks of the season where it looked like he was, lighting the world on fire and about to have a career season and the whole thing. And then suddenly you realize that Lourdes Gurriel is just a very streaky hitter and he starts struggling. And those struggles have lasted quite a while at this point. He hasn't really been able to turn things around. He didn't start this game. He came in after Andrew Heaney took over as a lefty. But you still, in my mind, you still have to feel good about Lourdes turning things around because this is who he's been his whole career. He'll have high highs, he'll have low lows, but at the end of the day, he has always been an above average hitter. He has not had one season in the majors where he has not had an OPS plus above 100. He is one of the more reliable hitters in the game. I still view him that way at this point. I also think that Gabriel Moreno, from what we saw last season, it just seemed like he was really kind of figuring out how to hit and really coming into his own. He's been off to a slow start, but I still would bet on Gabriel Moreno being better the rest of the way than what he's been up to this point. And granted, he hasn't been great up to this point, so that's not necessarily saying a lot. Eugenio Suarez is maybe where you don't feel quite as confident just because he is getting up there in age a little bit. He did regress last year with the Mariners. And we looked at some of the projections for him coming into the season, if you remember going through zips and all that stuff before the season started. And it was like, all these computers think that Eugenio Suarez is going to have like a 675 OPS or something. That seems a little low.
Stupid computers. He has a 600 OPS. You idiots.
He has really struggled so far this year. He's been
worse than the projections, which we thought were dramatic at the time.
Yeah.
And you had reasonable explanation to back that up, but he has been even worse than that. And
right.
Shane is familiar with Gino. He's a Mariners guy.
Yeah.
Are you surprised by this? Like, are you surprised by him even being as bad as he's been this season?
I'm not crazy surprised because he's getting up there in age.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean, this is pretty bad. And I think I don't think this is what is going to be Gino for the rest of the year. Like what does he have? 3 home runs?
I think he has 2 home
Yeah,
runs.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
No, he has 3. He has 3.
217 with a 600 OPS.
If he stays in the lineup, he's going to hit more. Like, he's going to hit more than 3 home runs in the first third of the season, I would think. And that's where a lot of it comes from because, I mean, he wasn't just a Mariner. He was a Mariner. He loved striking out and hitting home runs. Like, that's what he does. So
True to his core.
I'm sure he'll figure it out at some point. And figuring it out for him, again, isn't hitting 270. It's hitting 220 and, 20 bombs.
Yeah.
And Piece of Yoshi's right. He says the defense is doing heavy lifting, and at times we have to ask a lot out of them. And that's where it brings me back to like, for a 4-2 score, should we expect the offense to score 5 runs? Should we expect the defense to be better and not allow 4 runs? I really don't know what the answer is there, but it's just there's too many games too often. What were you saying about the last 4 games? They've produced what, 6 runs?
Yeah,
6 runs
6
total
runs in the last 4 games.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting.
The Marlins pitching staff, though, Derek, you have to respect. I mean, they've been among the league.
Look, I don't care if Shane's here. I will
so.
fight you in front of Shane. I will fight you in front of all 200 people on Twitter right now.
We'll jump his ass.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, you're just gonna say that to my face while I'm sitting here right now?
I mean, even in this game, honestly, like Andrew Heaney has not had a very good year for the Rangers. He came in sort of a long relief role after Nathan Eovaldi bizarrely left the game after 3 innings.
Well, you guys talked about that on the record today, right?
Yeah.
That their middle relievers have been struggling, and that honestly, you and I thought that was a great time. It appeared, especially in the 6th inning, like it was a great time for them to take advantage, and like things were moving in that direction. And then that double play just killed everything for this team. I swear to God, that moment was the end of the game. They could have just wrapped it up right there and said, "This game's over."
I mean, it was to that point. Grant Anderson is the guy who came in with the bases loaded and 1 out. Like when the Diamondbacks were in position to overcome that Seager home run, get back on the board, try to make this a game again. They had a pitcher on the mound who had an ERA of 8.71, I think, coming into this game. Also, his numbers in AAA this year, not very good. Grant Anderson has not been a good relief pitcher this year for the Rangers, and he comes in, granted Adolis Garcia. It was a little bit of an assist there, getting 2 outs and just 1 at bat against Gino to finish off that frame. But Grant Anderson came back and also had a 1-2-3 inning the next time around. So David Robertson and Kirby Yates have been really good for the Rangers. Like their 8th inning and 9th inning options have been very good this season. It's those guys that come before them that have not been good, and the Diamondbacks were not able to really do any kind of damage there.
Well, we know, of course, Damon definitely lies. He's lying about his whereabouts right now because we have no idea where he is, and he won't tell us. And he won't even tell us if he's coming back. But we know the numbers; they don't lie. So let's take a look at tonight's number from tonight's game. Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah, this goes back to Pfaadt being, I think, pretty solid overall today. 197. This represents the expected batting average by Rangers hitters against Pfaadt. He just gave up the 6 hits. As I said earlier, the 2 singles before the Corey Seager 3-run homer were both pretty cheap. He just continues to look really good. I mean, he still gave you 7 innings yet again, which it just feels like is just sort of the default expectation with Brandon Pfaadt at this point. He now averages over 6 innings per start this season, which is something that not that many pitchers around the league. You cannot say that for very many pitchers in the sport at this point. So he continues to just prove that he's taking that next step, and he's becoming the kind of pitcher that you really hoped he could be in year 2. He continues to be the one sort of young up-and-coming player on this team that has taken that next step when a lot of other guys have not been able to.
Groundhog Mama asks a really good question. She says, who's going to lose their shit in the locker room for a players-only meeting? And see, this once again goes back to the point where I
talk about Tommy Pham.
I talk about Tommy Pham. You knew it, Jesse. You knew I didn't even need to get there. I'll talk about me. I'm going to, you know what I'm doing? I'm shaving this mustache off. This mustache is gone. The playoff stash, gone. It's fucking gone.
You know what?
You don't deserve it.
Derek, as a mustached man myself, I respect that.
It's got to go.
It has to, because
it's crazy.
Because it was built on trust.
It was built on trust. It was built on taking that magic and doing a facsimile of it, doing more magic this year.
The stash has been spat on.
Yeah, it has. It's been they disrespected the stash, and the stash goes. So that's what happens when you do that. And we need someone to lose their shit in the clubhouse. Like, as much as Torey Lovullo can be a motivator, I need Torey Lovullo to go in there and lose his shit. Like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what the answer is, and it doesn't look like Torey does either. When he was asked the other day, it looked like he was at his wit's end as well. And I mean,
yeah,
what do you do when it's a pandemic across your team? What do you do when everybody can't hit? What do you do? You know, again, this is where you start looking at those crazy answers. And that's why I said a few weeks ago, like, I wouldn't be surprised if this team collectively continues to, not be able to produce offensively if someone loses their job over it. And as crazy as that sounds, it's just the kind of thing that franchises tend to do. I don't think it's the right answer, but at the same time, like, it just feels like there's a lot of frustrating, things in regards to what's going on with this team. And it's just wild how it's across the board offensively right now. But I don't really know. I don't even know, like, again, like, what is the impact of a coach anyway? When it's like the hitting coach, and how much can you blame when guys are struggling on a hitting coach when they're not the one out there in the ball, right? It's just, it feels like when a group is struggling, it's not just one guy or two guys. That's the point where you start to wonder, is it something more, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And I'm not trying to act like there is anything there, or there's any talk about, replacing the hitting coach or doing anything in regards to that. Yeah. But it just comes to a point where you start to go crazy seeking an answer. And I can imagine, Mike Hazen and other people within the front office, within this organization, kind of going a little nuts right now, wondering what is going on with this team in the same way we're wondering what's going on with this team. I remember one time it was being blamed on the humidifier or the humidor, right? El humidor, right? It was being blamed on that. Like, oh, all of a sudden the offense is drying up and this team can't hit at home. And I remember Mike Hazen specifically saying to somebody, well, it doesn't seem to be impacting the other teams. And like, he seemed crazy frustrated at that point. So again, there are things at times with this team, the way they kind of go cold as a whole, that just it makes you feel crazy. Isn't it crazy that less than a week ago, 6 days ago, the Diamondbacks took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers? Oh, we were on
how different the conversations around this
life was great. Life was so good. It was so good.
And let's face it, like, something like that is probably right around the corner, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way this season has been for the Diamondbacks. It's been, a good amount of disappointment, and then maybe a week stretch where it looks like they're figuring things out. They're pushing things in the right direction. They're about to cross over the 500 mark.
Yeah.
And then it's another week of
2 games back.
Yeah. What we've seen the last few days, where it's like, all right, you lost 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. You had a complete game shutout thrown against you. And then today against, granted, a Rangers team that's better than their record, but a Rangers team that is beatable for sure. And the Diamondbacks just were not able to deliver once again.
Piece of Yoshi blames Damon for playing the losing song on a day where we had a win, and there might be something to that. I'm not saying he's right.
What day was that?
That was after, I believe, the Dodgers, one of the Dodger victories, because you weren't there. Okay. I think it was the Friday. It was the
Dodgers victories would have been on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was one of those two. Huh. So he's probably right. Anyway, I will tell you.
Damon is to blame one way or another. It's just a matter of
it's true. It's true. Well, he's not here, so
you're talking about having a scapegoat. I mean, it's Damon.
It's Damon.
Like, that's why this team isn't hitting.
Yeah, that's right. I would normally be drinking a delicious Four Peaks beer right now, and that's another thing the Diamondbacks have deprived me of, Jesse. I don't get to drink my victory beer. I could drink it in sadness, though, because you can drink a delicious Four Peaks anytime. And you can check out all their wonderful beers that they have to offer. Their brand new beer with Bad Birdie, their Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale, one of my favorites. Fantastic. Not only can you get it on the tap at the Four Peaks location and at bars all across the valley, you can also get it in cans at your local grocery store. So make sure to check out all the wonderful things Four Peaks has to offer. You can visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Brew at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest. Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly.
Is that a bit that I'm missing with the grocery store, or did you just say that like a crazy person?
I've said it like a crazy person for about 10 years now.
Are you serious?
It's on purpose. I know how to say grocery store, but
Why
it's
do you
more
say
fun.
grocery store?
It's just
fun?
It's fun.
Okay,
It's
that's
fun.
fair.
It's just
No, I
a fun.
respect that.
It's a weird word.
It is a weird
Kinda
word.
is.
And
Semantic satiation.
see,
Do you guys
it's
ever
one
have
of the
that?
one things he's letting me get away with. Like
that's
there are
fair.
so many things he corrects me. But yes, Nate Cleveland says yes. Sadness beer. Hey, I mean, again, sadness beer can still make me feel good, and we'll try to do that by talking about Angel Hernandez retiring from the game of baseball here shortly. But I did want to tell you, if you do want to come out and watch this baseball team, I mean, I can't recommend it. But if you do want to come out and watch this baseball team, a great way to do so is buying your tickets at Game Time. You can also get your tickets for all sorts of wonderful events, other sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, and all sorts of things that you do not want to miss out on. You can get those tickets last minute because we know how that's how the human brain works. We see the event. We're like, we have plenty of time. I don't need to buy tickets now. You get closer to the event, you're like, all right, well, maybe. And then you forget. And then it's the day of, and 4 of your friends from Facebook are going and you want to go. So get your tickets last minute at Game Time. You can save more with their exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. You can also check out what your view is going to look like. So that's always a great option as well. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, Jesse, we get to finally bid adieu to MLB umpire Angel Hernandez. And while there are still,
it's a sad day for
it is
baseball,
absolutely not a sad day for baseball. It might be the greatest day in baseball history. Baseball fans are divided, and they always will be. It doesn't matter if you're talking about what's the better league, AL or NL. You're talking about the designated hitter rule. Talk about the pitch clock and the new rules, right? You're going to get a lot of people divided on that. They're not going to like a lot of things in baseball, and people just don't agree on anything anymore. We don't agree on anything. But what we can all agree on is that we're all glad Angel Hernandez is no longer an umpire in Major League Baseball. And you could call it retirement, but I mean, really, when you're the worst umpire in the league, statistically, you're the worst umpire in the league. 161 missed calls in 10 games last year. Just bad. He's been bad. And we are not sad to see him go. So I don't ever want to hear you say that. And I don't mean to bury this man while Jesse sits here and cringes at me based on the fact that he is a human being, and we should remember that. I want to say that if you're this bad at your job, you should not get to have the career that Angel Hernandez had. And even though there are umpires that are worse than him, maybe those guys deserve to go too. I'm not just singling him out. Maybe all umpires that are bad at their jobs should go. And maybe that's when we get the robot umps in here and we can dress them up cool, like the robot from Rocky 3 could be awesome, right? Like that guy behind the plate, that's incredible. But or wait, was it Rocky 4? I'm sorry, I'm mixing my Rocky films up.
Jesse will know.
Jesse, I'll throw it to Jesse. Jesse absolutely knows. But of course, that's something that's I mean, honestly, across baseball, the one thing that I saw that people were excited about is this unified baseball. We all can appreciate someone that has given all of our teams this much grief that is no longer calling the game. But there is another really interesting, announcement being made that.
Can I say one quick thing about Angel?
Oh, please do. I was hoping you would.
I just have to point out that according to umpscorecards.com,
oh boy,
there are 16 Major League umpires who have a lower accuracy percentage on ball strike calls than Angel Hernandez this season. So
Shane, get a one shot on me over here. I want you to get a one shot on me. Look at me right in the eyes when I tell you this. Your days are number 2. We're coming for you guys too, all 16 of you. If he was that bad, none of you should be worse than Angel Hernandez. That's a fact. All right, but again, something that actually might interest you to talk about a little bit is the announcement that MLB is going to be they're going to be basically integrating Negro League statistics into the MLB database. So it was announced that Josh Gibson, for instance, who is a prolific hitter in the Negro Leagues, will now hold a number of records in Major League Baseball. And honestly, this is probably a fairly controversial topic with a lot of sides taking weird directions on it. I just don't know if it's necessarily a good thing, because I feel like this takes away from the fact that Major League Baseball, which wasn't alone at the time, right? Segregation was a thing that existed in this country. So there was the separate but equal thing all over the place when it came to, the race. But it is crazy to me that Major League Baseball now kind of gets to pat themselves on the back and integrate these stats into their stats, like as if they saw the Negro Leagues on a similar level. It's not to say that the competition isn't as good. Because of segregation and how racist people were in this country and how we literally saw skin color as a reason to separate players into two separate leagues. I think it takes away from the importance of the Negro Leagues by integrating those stats. I'm not worried about the fact that Gibson now has all sorts of, that's great. That's fucking awesome for me. I think that it's just MLB kind of pulling a fast one in a way that they Negro Leagues now is part of them and like it always was, and it really wasn't. And I think it just it gives them a kind of an out on the fact that historically, this segregation was something that existed and it kept the best players from playing together.
Yeah, I thought Foolish Baseball at Foolish BB on Twitter made a really interesting point in response to this. He said, "Hate to be a wet blanket, but this has never really done anything for me. I don't need MLB to float down from the heavens and decree that the Negro Leagues were good. And the fact that players like Josh Gibson explicitly didn't play in MLB is why the Negro Leagues were important." It is sort of Major League Baseball kind of finally correcting. But you can't correct the mistake that was made at the time, right? That is done. That was what it was, and it was obviously terrible for many, many reasons. And it just feels, I don't know. The reality of the situation is that the Negro Leagues were forced to be their own thing back then, and it feels cheap in a way now to be like, oh yes, we welcome all of this, retroactively to bring all of that stuff into the Major League Baseball history books. Really, my biggest take on this situation, though, is that Josh Gibson was an outrageously good baseball player. Josh Gibson hit 466 in 1943. Derek, that will now stand as the single season record for Major League Baseball for batting average in a season, 466. And based on recent trends in Major League Baseball and the fact that batting averages have been dropping for a while now, I don't think we're going to see another 466 hitter anytime soon.
Josh Rojas.
Yeah, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Luis Ariz with the Padres. We'll see what happens. But someone asked if I'm okay because I'm sweating a lot. I've gone into this multiple times. We don't have air conditioning, and that's going to become more and more of a problem as the summer goes on. So
you know what? I'm going to take.
I specifically had asked for air conditioning tonight. We don't have it.
I'm going to take the L on this one. I should have turned a fan on prior to this. It's on me.
It's all right.
I will wear the burden of your sweat. Not literally,
I appreciate it. Well, again, I think that at the end of the day, the one thing about this is that it's kind of like I like the Negro Leagues being in the Hall of Fame and being honored in that way is fantastic.
Yeah, like Josh Gibson being in the Hall of Fame, like that feels like the correct decision for sure.
And MLB, the show, doing things like they did to not only highlight it and give you a cool mode to play, but to also tell the history that so many people don't know because these guys were not part of MLB is an amazing thing to do. Like sharing their history, sharing things like how great of a hitter Gibson is a good thing. And maybe that's the great thing that comes from this is because these statistics will now be part of Major League Baseball. They do get they get the praise, they get the flowers that they deserve, long overdue. But it's just kind of MLB getting to get their cake and eat it too there in a situation where, they kind of get to be the good guys here in this situation when that definitely wasn't the case when this league was forced to be created, right? So
I just don't know if it honors the best way to honor the Negro Leagues is to kind of lump in their stats with the stats of Major League Baseball.
Sure.
I don't feel like
feature it in a sort of way.
I don't feel too strongly about it either way, but I very much understand Foolish Baseball's perspective on that, and it definitely makes you think.
I agree. Well, like at the end of the day, though, we want to know more about baseball. We want to know about all the great hitters, no matter what league they played in, right? So I think sharing that information is always cool. But I definitely have my feelings about it, and it's not because Josh Gibson is going to get honored with all the records that he has held. It's more about MLB kind of getting to look like the good guy here in a situation where
Sure.
I don't really feel like they should get to, but
Gibson had a career 1176 OPS.
stupid. It's just
It's pretty wild.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, of course, we do appreciate you guys stopping by. We thank you guys so much for being here, even after a loss like tonight. We will be back tomorrow with another post-game show. Diamondbacks have a quick 2-game set here with the Texas Rangers. So we will be back with, I guess, a series wrap-up tomorrow. Make sure to join us then. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Shane is at Shane Diff. Just DIFF, right?
DIEFF.
DIEFF. I forgot. I'm sorry. But of course,
Shane Diff.
Yeah, Shane Diff. We are Shane's sons. I don't know. Yeah.
Shane's son? I don't know if I'm
No,
comfortable.
that's fine. That's fine.
We were
We're
Kyle's
already
kids,
Kyle's kids,
so-
but that was in a goat way, so that was a little different.
That was a little different.
We'll figure something out, but we appreciate you guys for being here. Of course, make sure to follow our show at PHNX_DBacks, and all roads do, of course, lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for your time tonight. We appreciate you for stopping by. We'll see you tomorrow.
Shane Sheep.
Oh, there we go.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
Shane
good.
Sheep. We are Shane Sheep. Bye. All right. Well, we thank you guys again. We appreciate your time. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when the offense actually does something.
We all silly like the mayor.